What is going on, everybody? Welcome to another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling. I, of course, am your host, the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams. Happy Monday. Almost feels like we're going to be discussing old news today since we're going to be discussing last week's Impact. And since then, we have already had TNA Rebellion, which was Saturday. So some of the stuff that gets set up here and mentioned here, we've already had the results of, but it just kind of is what it is with the way that my schedule is. And then, of course, we will have our traditional SmackDown coverage as well. Let's get into it, though. Impact kicked off with Hammerstone versus Little Guido from the Full-Blooded Italians, the FBI. This was a glorified squash match that was designed to get inside the head of Josh Alexander, the walking weapon, who, of course, faced and defeated Hammerstone at Rebellion. Didn't look like it got into the head of Alexander whatsoever. The main thing of note here was that it was really good to see Little Guido Maritato inside the ECW arena. To my knowledge, he's never really worked with TNA in the past, maybe a couple of one-offs here and there when they did the Hardcore Justice or whatever. But Lil Guido never really had a TNA run, but to see him inside the ECW arena, just a cool vibe and feeling all around. From there, we went to a Dimeless Dana Brooke promo, and you can see by the fact that I'm starting to yawn there that it was a typical Dimeless Dana Brooke promo. She says that she will be at Rebellion VIP status once the winner of Steph DeLander versus Jordan Grace. But Zaya Brookside comes in at the end and says that at Impact this coming week, the two of them are going to have a rematch. Unfortunately, I feel like Zaya Brookside is probably going to lose so that they can push Timeless Dana Brooke to the title. But this whole Ash by Elegance thing is just getting dumber and dumber with each passing week, if you ask me. It's abundantly clear that they're trying to rip off Timeless Tony Storm. And they're not even trying to hide it and change a few things. It's just bad. We then get a video recorded off like a camera phone from Jordan Grace where she cuts a promo regarding Matt Cardona's injury. And she makes the comment about how she knows Steph DeLander has got something up her sleeve. Forgive me, y'all. She says how she knows Steph DeLander has got something up her sleeve and she's got something in return to counteract. From there, we go to a squash match. Some guy named LSG taking on Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry just squashed the guy in order to gain a little bit more momentum going in towards the match that he had against Rich Swann. From there, the Grizzled Young Vets and Mustafa Ali took on Jake Something, Cody Deaner, and Rhino. This was a fun match. Tremendous six-man action here. Fast-paced, hard-hitting. Was the match of the night so far up till this point. Ali was able to steal the victory. Jake Something was going into Rebellion, going to face Ali for the X Division title. Rhino again getting another ECW original into the 2300 arena, the OG ECW arena. Great vibe, great moment there. We then had a promo from Steve Macklin, who said that he doesn't care what the marquee says, he is going to make his presence felt at Rebellion. We then had a promo where Eric Young confronted his former self, the world-class Maniac. He says that he's scared what he will become if he gets violent once again. But sometimes it's necessary. He says Frankie has lost it, and he may just have to lose it too. Of course, we see Eric Young talking to a masked figure, and while I do enjoy Eric Young, I've been making the joke since last Thursday that the masked version of himself resembled Casey Jones from the OG Ninja Turtles. The mask is identical. It's just uncanny. It's silly. It's corny. But that always used to be Eric Young's style, is cheesy and corny. I mean, this is the same guy that used to freak out when pyros would go off. Yet somehow, some way, he became a two-time TNA champion and the leader of a group, a stable called Violent by Design. Like, I still don't get it. We then had Rosemary versus Jody Threat, as we were going to have Spitfire defending the titles against Decay at the pay-per-view, so a little bit of a momentum-building match. Honestly, for everything that's said about the Knockouts division, this match was good, but it wasn't to the level of the Knockouts division. I've seen better from these two women. I've seen better presented on the stage by the Knockouts. Rosemary got the victory here. Decay has the momentum going into the match. Unfortunately for Decay, they lost at Rebellion. Spitfire retained their titles. We then had a Jonathan Gresham vignette as we continue to build to his ultimate arrival. Each week, these vignettes seem to focus on the same thing, the masks that we wear, the masks that we wear. Gresham, of course, known as the Octopus, known for wearing an octopus or a squid mask to the ring. You see Gresham with this black ink on himself, which is a nod to the fact that squid and octopus and members of that family do squirt ink out in order to try to confuse the people, the species that are hunting them. So a nice little subtle nod there. We then had our main event match, Motor City Machine Guns versus the System. Outright banner. This was the match of the night. Fast-paced tag team action. Motor City Machine Guns take the L as they can't beat the System. Of course, this was to our knowledge, because we haven't heard about the Machine Guns signing anywhere yet. It's heavily rumored they're heading to AEW, but they did not show up at Dynasty, which was a little bit of a surprise. But it's rumored this was the Machine Guns' final match in TNA. They're off to other pastures elsewhere. Whether they do in fact end up in AEW, as the rumors state, or if they end up in WWE remains to be seen. Personally, I think they would do better in WWE, but that is not my call to make, unfortunately. That is in the hands of Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley. We ended Impact with a face-to-face between Nick Nemeth and Moose. This was basically just a hype promo going back and forth to try to build intrigue for their match at Impact. Nick Nemeth referred to himself as Dolph Ziggler a couple of times because he felt like Moose is trying to downplay who he is and what his abilities are. He feels like he is the Dolph Ziggler of old, this choke artist. Really good promo between the two men. All in all, it was a good episode of Impact. I would have to give it, I'd give it an 8 out of 10. The only thing that really brought it down for me was that knockouts match and then the squash matches, I guess I should say, Little Guido and then the LSG match. Those are the only things that really brought it down, but all in all, a solid offering from Impact. I'm going to take a quick commercial break, show you where you can find and follow all the friends of the Jeff Meacham Network Multiverse of Media. When we come back, we will discuss SmackDown. Stay tuned.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
And we are back. Time to transition now into WWE's Blue brand as we discuss what happened last week on SmackDown. Of course, this week kicks off the WWE Draft. Looking forward to seeing what moves happen there. Trying to determine what kind of coverage I will be doing of that. Stay tuned during the week for more updates there. SmackDown kicked off with LA Knight taking on AJ Styles. This match was to determine who would face Cody Rhodes at Backlash. This was a great WrestleMania rematch. As I said, Backlash implications were on the line. Slightly predictable, though, as the Phenomenal One picked up the victory here over the Megastar in order to face the American Nightmare on May the 4th. It's predictable because LA Knight's the face, AJ's the heel. Cody is a huge over baby face right now, so you need a heel challenger. So you're going to make it the phenomenal AJ Styles. Plus, you go back in time and you look at the fact that both of them are former NWA champions who have held the WWE champion. Only 2 out of 4 men to do it. The other men being Ric Flair and Buddy Rogers. So you've got that little history that they can play into. And then you've got the fact that both of them were either leaders or affiliated with the Bullet Club back in Japan during their hiatus from a major company, I guess you could say. And that's not intended to downplay New Japan as a major company, but when AJ had left TNA before he came to WWE, and when Cody had left WWE before starting AEW, both men were affiliated with Bullet Club in New Japan. So then you've got that little aspect of the story and history that you can tell too. So again, really predictable in its outcome, but I look forward to a banner of a match once we get to France and Backlash, which of course we will be covering across the multiverse of media. Stay tuned for that. We then had Solo Sikoa arrive at the arena, and he met up with Paul Heyman. Tama Tonga snuck up behind him. Solo has Heyman try to take them to where Kevin Owens is. We then have Nick Aldis in the ring. He brings out Triple H, who introduces A-Town Down Under. And they are presented the brand new WWE Tag Team Championship belts. Beautiful looking belts, very simplistic. Nice little nod back to the Ruthless Aggression era SmackDown tag titles and the OG, for lack of a better term, I'll call them Golden Era through Attitude Era tag titles. We're talking the belts that the Hart Foundation, Demolition, the Brainbusters, the New Age Outlaws, guys like that held. Rock and Sock Connection. Great little melding of those two championships to create this design. Love the way that these belts look. And from there, we then went to a fatal four-way to determine the number one contenders to the titles. We had the Street Profits taking on New Catch Republic, Legado del Fantasma, and the Authors of Pain. Phenomenal tag team action here. It was like a good bowl of chili, had all the ingredients working well, had a little bit of high-flying lucha action, a little bit of catch-as-catch-can wrestling. You had hard-hitting slugfests. Street Profits were able to get the victory here, become the number one contenders to A-Town Down Under. My only problem with this, though, and it's not just the SmackDown match, but the one that happened on Raw last week as well, where DIY got the victory. These tag team title matches are supposed to happen on Raw and SmackDown this week. Why not save these matches for Backlash? You're going to a foreign market, you're going overseas, you're giving France their first major pay-per-view event, and you've already burned these title matches. Yes, you can have a schmozzy finish that leads to a rematch at Backlash, or you just make the match at Backlash and you use these next couple weeks to tell the stories. I don't understand why they're doing these title contention matches and then giving the matches away the next week. Same thing in regards to our main event for SmackDown, we'll get to in a little bit, where we had Tiffany Stratton take on Naomi 2 weeks ago. And then on this episode I'm reviewing, they had Naomi take on Bayley for the title. Naomi should have been the challenger at Backlash. Am I wrong or am I right? Let me know. We then had an interview with Byron Saxton talking to Bayley. Talks about Rhea having to vacate her championship, her being the only women's champion in WWE at the time. Of course, we're going to have a battle royal tonight on Raw to see who takes Rhea's title. Talks about the impending draft and the match that she's going to have later on in the evening against Naomi. We then go back to Heyman and Solo backstage, and this whole back and forth between the two of them about how they can't find Kevin Owens. And Heyman is just cowering in fear of Solo. Like there's something interesting about the way that Heyman is reacting to Solo and what he and Tama Tonga are doing with the bloodline, because he doesn't feel that Roman Reigns has got anything to do with this. They then begin to transition to the ring, and they walk out to the arena to Solo's music. Paul Heyman tries to speak on the microphone, but Solo snatches the mic out of his hands. Tama Tonga then brings out a bloodied and battered Kevin Owens. Very interesting segment here. I'm curious why KO is the first person on their list, though. Got a feeling we may end up with KO versus Tama Tonga or KO versus Solo Sikoa at Backlash in France. We'll have to see how the story develops and what may or may not happen with the draft. Again, this Friday on SmackDown, and not tonight on Raw, but a week from tonight on Raw. We then had Carlito versus Santos Escobar. Solid match between the two, but I kind of expected more from it, but it wasn't bad. I keep waiting for the shoe to drop on the Carlito heel turn, and we just keep prolonging this. Like, we don't get it. And the fact that Carlito keeps coming out there each week wearing his own shirt instead of an LWO shirt, it's like it's written everywhere that Carlito is going to go solo here and break off of them. I don't know what's taking them so long. Santos gets the victory in this match. We then go up to a suite and we see Damage Control, Io Sky, the Kabuki Warriors, Dakota Kai, all in a suite. Dakota begins to run her mouth. Jade Cargill's music then hits, and Bianca and Jade show up into the suite right next to them. Main event, of course, was Naomi versus Bayley. This was a banger of a match between two friends. Really good, really well executed. The only issue was the disqualification finish, as Tiffany Stratton ran out there, got involved, inserted herself in the match. I'm glad to see the way that she's being heavily featured. I do wish this match had gone and ended on its own before Tiffy's involvement. That's just my feeling on it. But what did you guys think of SmackDown? Overall, I thought it was a solid show. Again, probably give it about an 8 out of 10. Am I on par? Am I not? Let me know what you guys think. Going to take another moment here. We're going to show you guys all the upcoming watch-along events that'll be covered here across the multiverse of media. And when we come back, we will do the shows and get out of here. Stay tuned.
And now, preview time. So let's take a look at what's coming your way.
And we are back. So yeah, what did everyone think of SmackDown? Let me know. Again, 8 out of 10 for me. Make sure you guys stay tuned in across the multiverse of media. Today, at some point, not sure exactly time, Jeff Meacham will be on the air with Meach's Musings. Make sure you tune in across the multiverse of media for that. Tomorrow, of course, Stat Boy Sports Bar will be open 4 o'clock Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. We also tomorrow will have our coverage of NXT Spring Breaking with Noah and I on the call, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. And of course, same bat time, same bat channel tomorrow. Make sure you tune in to another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling, where I will be reviewing tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw. Thank you, everybody, for joining us and tuning in this morning. Make sure you go back in the archives. Make sure you check out our coverage of AEW Dynasty from last night and TNA Rebellion from Saturday night. Make sure you go back in the archives and check out last week's episode of Inside the Mind of the Renegade, where I discuss what I would do to improve the AEW product. And until tomorrow in another brand new installment of For the Love of Wrestling, I am the Renegade of Wrestling, JJ Williams, saying thank you for joining us, and I will see you guys tomorrow.
The Jeff Meacham Network's Multiverse of Media. For over 15 years, the recognized symbol of excellence and the standard bearer in coverage of sports and entertainment.
Thank you, JJ. Appreciate you.